It was 2:09 a.m. when my phone rang. The screen glowed in the dark, lighting the room with a cold white flash. The name said, Dad. I froze. My father had been buried for 6 days. I'd watched them lower his casket into the ground with my own eyes. The sound of that soil hitting wood still haunted me when I tried to sleep. For a long moment, I just stared at the phone. The ringtone, that old country tune he used to love, played softly until my shaking hand hit accept. Dad? I whispered. Nothing, only silence. Then I heard it breathing, slow, heavy, wet, like someone pressing their mouth too close to the speaker. Dad? I said again, my throat tightening. Still nothing, but the breathing continued a steady rhythm that matched the way he used to sigh when he was falling asleep in his armchair. Then, in the faintest voice, almost swallowed by static, came a word. Cold. The call ended. I sat there staring at the dark screen, my heart hammering. My first thought was that it had to be a cruel prank. My brother, maybe, but he was asleep at the hospital, staying with Mom. I replayed the voicemail, nothing but the same faint breathing. No word this time, just that suffocating sound. The next morning, I went straight to the phone company. The man behind the counter looked confused when I showed him the call log. There's no incoming call at that time, he said. In fact, this number hasn't been active for days. The line was disconnected after the funeral. I stared at the screen. The number was still there, Dad. He'd been buried with that phone. I knew because I'd slipped it into his jacket pocket at the wake. It was our way of saying goodbye, one last connection, even though I knew it would never ring again. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in the living room staring at the photo of him on the mantel. His favorite flannel shirt, that half smile, the lines on his face follow. Rom, years of sun. At 2:09 a.m., the phone lit up again. This time, I didn't pick up. I just listened to the ringtone echo through the silence until it stopped, and then I heard something else. From the kitchen. A faint vibration, a sound I knew too well. The hum of an old flip phone buzzing against the countertop. The same tone. The same song. I turned toward the sound. The kitchen was empty, but the light over the sink flickered twice, then went still. I stepped closer, heart pounding, every part of me whispering, "Don't." The sound stopped, and there, on the kitchen counter, sat my father's old coffee mug, the one we buried with him. Still half full, the mug sat there, perfectly still, a faint coffee ring staining the counter beneath it. It looked exactly the way he used to leave it, handle turned to the right, a small chip on the rim. I didn't move for what felt like a full minute. My brain refused to catch up with what I was seeing. We buried that mug with him. I'd watched the undertaker place it beside his phone before they sealed the casket. Maybe I'm losing it, I whispered. But when I reached out, the coffee inside was still warm. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking, and opened the call log again. The screen froze for a second, then glitched. The most recent call from Dad had vanished. In its place, a single voicemail notification blinked. I pressed play, a hiss, then breathing. And beneath it, his voice calm, low, and familiar. "You shouldn't have left me in the dark." I dropped the phone. It hit the floor and slid across the tile. I backed up until I hit the wall, the sound of my own pulse drowning everything else out. When I finally picked the phone up again, the voicemail was gone. No trace of it. Just the date and time, 2:09 a.m. I called my brother the next morning. He told me I needed sleep, that grief was doing things to my head. He reminded me of how little I'd eaten since the funeral. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But when I opened my kitchen drawer, the one I hadn't touched in days, my father's lighter was there too, and the same one I'd seen him flick on every morning before lighting his cigarette. A small metal lighter engraved with his initials, R.W. The next few nights were quiet. No calls, no flickering lights, no voices. I convinced myself I'd imagined everything until Friday. That night, the house smelled like his cologne, that Old Spice he wore every day for 40 years. I followed the scent into the hallway. The air felt colder there, like someone had opened a window, but all the windows were locked. And then I saw it faint handprints on the inside of the glass, smeared across the fog. Large, rough, like a man's hands. Exactly like my father's. I wiped the glass clean and turned off the lights, trying to convince myself that maybe I'd left them there earlier. But something inside me knew better. At 2:09 a.m., my phone lit up again. This time there was no ringtone, just a silent incoming call. The name, Dad. The light from the screen cast a faint glow across my room. I hovered my thumb over the answer button, and then I heard it from the hallway. The ringtone, faint, muffled, playing from somewhere inside the house. My father's phone. The one buried with him. The melody grew louder, echoing through the walls. I followed it into the hallway, past the photo of him and me fishing at the lake, past the light switch that flickered as I moved. The sound was coming from inside the basement. And as I stood at the top of the stairs, the last note of that ringtone faded, replaced by something else. A single, quiet knock. From below, the knock came again. Soft, slow, like someone was testing the wood. My breath hitched. Every instinct told me not to move, but my body didn't listen. I flicked on the basement light. Nothing. The stairs below were swallowed in a dull yellow haze. Another knock, louder this time. It wasn't random. There was rhythm, 3 knocks, a pause, then 2 more. The same way my dad used to knock on my door when I was a kid. "Dad?" I whispered. My voice cracked. Silence. The air was heavy, thick with that old familiar cologne. I stepped down, each creak of the stairs making my stomach twist tighter. At the bottom, the basement looked the same as always: old paint cans, my father's dusty tools, the folding chair he had never thrown out. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number. I answered before I could think. A soft, static hum filled the line. Then the man's voice, low and distant, like he was speaking through the floor. "Son, you shouldn't have opened the door." The line went dead. I froze, every muscle in my body screaming to run, but something in his tone, gentle, tired, made me stay. It sounded like him. The lights flickered once, then again, and then I saw it. On my father's old workbench, half buried under dust, lay a phone, his phone. The flip screen was cracked, its display faintly glowing. The ringtone tone was still playing, but slower, distorted. I stepped closer. The closer I got, the louder that static hum became. It wasn't coming from the speaker, it was in the room. "Dad?" My voice trembled. "What do you want?" The screen lit up with a message. Just 4 words. "Don't let her in." My heart skipped. "Her?" I whispered. Then came footsteps behind me, on the basement stairs. Slow, careful, dragging like someone's shoes brushing the wood. I turned, my pulse pounding in my ears. A figure stood halfway down the stairs, barely visible in the weak light. "Dad?" I called it out again, desperate. The figure didn't move. But I saw her now, not him. My mother. She was pale, trembling, her eyes unfocused like she was half asleep. "Mom?" She took one more step down, her hand gripping the railing tight. "He's cold," she whispered. "He's waiting for you." The basement light flickered once, twice, and went black. I stumbled backward, fumbling for my phone. Its glow lit up the workbench, and for just a second, I saw it. The mug, the lighter, the phone, all 3 glowing faintly in the dark. Then my mother's voice, right beside my ear. "Answer him." The phone buzzed violently in my hand, Dad calling. I hit decline, and everything stopped. The smell vanished. The air grew still. I climbed the stairs in silence, each step heavier than the last. When I reached the kitchen, dawn light was creeping through the window. My phone vibrated one last time. A message. From Dad's number. "Thank you." The basement door creaked open behind me, but this time I didn't turn around. If you ever get a call from someone you've buried, don't answer. Hit subscribe, drop a like, and maybe, just maybe, I'll tell you what happened when he called again.